Hi, it's Dawn from Bunny Crochet. Today I have another great stash busting summertime crochet project. At the request of one of my subscribers, I made 4 more Freeze Pop Cozy designs. The first one is this cute little unicorn. Then I have a clownfish, watermelon, and dinosaur. I made these a little bit different than the lightsaber cozy that I had up for you last week. These are open at the bottom. Each one of these are open at the bottom to make it a little bit easier for younger children to be able to squeeze up the freeze pop. How I work today's tutorial is I will show you how to make the basic cozy, which is 14 rounds of half double crochet. You're going to be doing 15 stitches in the round. And for your 2 here in the center for the clownfish and the watermelon, you're going to be changing colors. When I get to them, I will show you explain to you the different row numbers, row counts for that. So what you'll need is some basic worsted weight yarn. I used some mostly Red Heart Super Saver that I had from little bits of scraps left over from other projects. A 4.0 millimeter hook or a G hook. You'll want a stitch marker, a yarn needle to weave in your ends, and a pair of scissors. Once you have all your basic supplies together, let's get started making some freeze pop cozies. Okay, I'm going to start with the watermelon cozy because this will show us how to make our basic cozy and our basic color changes. So we're going to start with this cozy. So you're going to be doing 2 rounds of green, 1 round of white, and then the last 11 rounds will be in the red. If you're going to be making your either one of these 2 cozies, the dinosaur or the unicorn, you're going to be doing a solid cozy, so it's all going to be one color, but it's going to be the exact same stitch counts, the exact same number of rows. The clownfish cozy, the tail is done separately from the cozy, so you're going to be doing 3 rounds of orange, 1 black, 1 white, 1 black, 2 rounds of orange, 1 black, 1 white, 1 black, and 3 rounds of orange. So let me get back to this one and we're going to show you how to make the basic cozy body. To start the cozy, we're going to start with a chain of 15 and slip stitch into that first chain that you made. Be careful not to twist the chain. Chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch right back into that first stitch that we just slip stitched into. Half double crochet into each chain around. So continue placing 1 half double crochet into each chain all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. I made it all the way back around to the beginning. We have 15 stitches. And we're going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet that we made. To start round 2, chain 1 and half double crochet back into that same stitch that you just slip stitched into, and 1 half double crochet into each stitch all the way around. At the end of this round, we're going to be changing colors. I made it all the way back around. We still have our 15 stitches. And we're going to change colors when we slip stitch. So we're going to insert our hook into that first stitch, drop our green, pull up our white, make sure everything's nice and tight. I like to tie my ends together. I mean, you can do this or not do it. I'm just going to put one little tie like that just to hold it together while I'm trying to stitch. I don't want to put an actual knot in it. It's a little too small for that because there's going to be not much to this piece because it's so small. So we're going to yarn over, insert into that same stitch, and half double crochet. Now I'm going to work over my ends for a couple of stitches. I know I don't normally do this during a tutorial, but it helps so you don't have so many stitches, so many ends to weave in. So we're going to go ahead and work over our ends for a couple of stitches. That's 3, 4, 5 stitches should be enough. So we're going to work over them for 5 stitches. And we can just pull those to the back and continue working. And clip those off in a few at the end of the round. So work 1 half double crochet into each of the rest of the stitches all the way around till you get back to the beginning, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. The end of the round, this is round 3, and we're going to change colors one more time. So insert your hook into that first stitch that we made, drop the white, pick up our red, complete your slip stitch, make sure things are tight. And go ahead and put a little knot there, not a complete knot, just one little tight, one little there, just to hold things together. And yarn over and go ahead and put your first half double crochet back into that same stitch that we just slip stitched into, and 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. Again, I'm going to work over those tails for the first 4 or 5 stitches or so. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we can just pull them to the back. We'll clip them off later and continue working in half double crochet all the way around to get back to the beginning, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. I'm at the end of round 4. We still have 15 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet that we made. We can go ahead and snip these tails off because we've already worked over the top of them, so let's just go ahead and do that. We get the white out of the way. Now we're on round 4, so for the next 10 rounds, so round, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, round 4. So round 4, so we're going to go from 5 to round 14 is going to be the same color, so we're not going to change colors anymore. We're just going to continue working the red. So we half double crochet into the same stitch that we just slip stitched into, and each stitch all the way around, and we just continue working just the red now from here on out till we get to round 14. And then you're going to go ahead and fasten off. And then all we have left to do after that is to sew on our seeds. So I will meet back up with you at the end of round 14. I'm at the end of round 14. We still have 15 stitches, and we're going to slip stitch into that first half double crochet that we made. We're just going to go ahead and fasten right off. And we need to weave in our ends, and we'll be ready to start our seeds. So I'll be right back after I get my ends all woven in. I have my ends all woven in, and we're going to take our black yarn with our yarn needle and just make sure you leave a tail and just randomly place seeds. I went about 2 rows wide on my seeds or so, just randomly place seeds on your watermelon cozy here. However many you want to put on there, you can put as little or as much as you'd like. Just randomly placing them here and there all over your cozy until you have as many seeds on there as you feel that it looks good. So again, just randomly placing them here and there, and that'll fit. That makes your watermelon cozy. So let's move on to the next one. So on our next cozy is the dinosaur one, and I said you do exactly the same as we did for our watermelon cozy, but we're just going to use straight one solid color, 15 stitches, 14 rows. So I just happen to have another cozy all made, and we're going to do our scales now. So I'm going to show you how to make the scales, and then we'll have a dinosaur cozy made. To make the dinosaur scale, we're going to start with a magic ring. I have not done this doing a chain 2 and putting the first round into the second chain from hook. I've only made these using a magic ring. So place your yarn over your first 2 fingers, wrap it around, and form an X. Put your hook under the bottom yarn, grab the top yarn, pull it through, twist, grab that working yarn, and form a chain stitch. Now into our magic ring we're going to put 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pull that tail tight. We're not going to slip stitch with this. We're going to be working in a continuous round. For this first round, I usually don't use a stitch marker. I just count the stitches. So we're going to go into that first stitch, and if you're unsure where the first one is, just count back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just 1 in each stitch. Let me get a little bit more yarn pulled out here. Apologize. Now for round 3, we're going to start marking our first stitch, because this is when we're going to start increasing. So this first stitch here, we're going to place 2 stitches, 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And we're going to mark that first stitch as the first stitch in our round. So go ahead and put a stitch marker in there. You can use a piece of yarn. You don't need to use one of these little fancy stitch markers. Now we're going to do 1 stitch, 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So that's 1, 2. Then we're going to repeat this pattern. So 2 single crochets into the next stitch. 1, 2, and then 1 single crochet in the last 2 stitches. So there's 2 stitches there. You might have to pull it up to see them, but there's 1, 2. One and 2. And we can go ahead and remove our stitch marker for a moment. And into that stitch that was marked, we're going to go ahead for round 4 and place 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. And we're going to go ahead and mark that first stitch again. And this round we're going to be doing the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3 are going to have 1 single crochet in them. I gotta get the hook under both strands there. There we go. So 1, 2, and 3. Then in our next stitch right here, place 2 single crochets because we're going to repeat this pattern. 1, 2, and then we have 3 stitches left. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to put 1 single crochet in each of them. 1, 1, and 1. We're back up to our mark stitch. I'm going to go ahead and take that out for a moment. And that marked stitch, which is our first stitch of the round, we're going to start round 5. We're going to put 2 stitches in there. 1, 2. Again, we're working all single crochets. Mark that first stitch again. And now we're going to work the next 4 stitches with 1 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in our next stitch, we're going to repeat the pattern. So we're putting 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then we have 4 stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to put 1 single crochet in each. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can go ahead and remove our stitch marker and fasten off. So we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch and fasten off. Make sure you leave a nice long tail because we're going to be sewing this onto the cozy. Let's go ahead and flatten out your scale. And we want to take our tail from our magic ring and just place a stay stitch or 2 around that magic ring so it doesn't reopen. Then go right down into the middle. Again, flatten out your scale. And you can snip this tail off from the magic ring because you won't be needing that anymore. And you want to make 2 more of these scales first so that you have a total of 3 scales. Once you have your 3 scales, you're just going to simply whip stitch them onto the edge of the cozy. Be careful not to go all the way through so you close up your cozy. I placed mine about a row apart. So there's a row on the ends, a row in between each of the scales. And that seems to fit fairly nicely. So now we can move on to our clownfish. So here is the clownfish cozy. So we need to work a fin and a tail. So how we do that? We're going to get out our orange yarn and our black yarn, and I will show you how to work those. To start off our tail for our clownfish, we're going to start with a chain of 7 and single crochet and second chain from hook, 1 single crochet in each stitch. So you're going to have a total of 6 stitches. Since we're close to the row, I'll just finish off this row. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, so 6 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work, and from here out we're going to be working in the back loop only. If you're unfamiliar with your front loops and your back loops, this loop here, which is closest to you, is your front loop, and this one is your back loop. So we're going to be working in these back loops only throughout the rest of the tail. So to start round 2, we're going to single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch. So we should still have 6 stitches, but we're going in the back loop only. And chain 1 and turn. And repeat that again, back loop only. And this is row 3. And continue working back and forth, back loop only, to get 24 rows back and forth. An easy way to count this is when you're looking at these and you see these ridges here. You look at them, the ridges would go 2, 4, and that tells you how many rows you have. So count each one of these indents as, because you have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows. So you can go 2, 4. So continue working in your back loop only till you have 24 rows. I'll meet back up with you at the end of the 24 rows. I'm at the end of round 24. We still have the 6 stitches. We're going to fasten off and leave a nice long tail for sewing. And let's get our cozy body back here. And we're going to take the bottom end of our cozy body and we're going to sew our tail to that. So let's thread up that tail with our yarn needle and decide where you want your seam to be. Seems to be good right there, so let's go ahead and start right here. We're just going to whip stitch the tail. We want that knot to stay on the inside to the cozy body. Okay, let's get this in a little better position so you can see. More of what's going on. So into the tail and then into the cozy. You should bring your yarn over. Just like that. And you're going to go all the way around the entire cozy, whip stitching the tail onto it. That's what it looks like on that side. Okay, I'm going to continue working this, and I'll meet back up with you once I have the tail sewn on. Once we have our tail sewn on, roll it back and then working through the loops, stitch the edge of the tail together. Just work your yarn under the edge or weave it back in, and then you can go ahead and fasten it off. Roll it back, and now we got to get our black yarn to go along the edge. Okay, we got our black yarn, and we're going to attach it with a slip stitch right about where the seam is, where you just sewn it together. In that same spot where you just slip stitched, go ahead and place 2 single crochets. We're going to skip the next row and hop over to the next one and place 2 single crochets. Skipping that next row, which is where the ridge is, we're going to hop over to the next one and place 2 single crochets. Again, skip this row, hop over to the next, and place 2 single crochets. Skip this row, hop over to the next, and place 2 single crochets. Skip this row, hop over to the next, place 2 single crochets. And you're going to continue that all the way around to get back to the beginning, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the round. I made it all the way back around, and we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first single crochet that we made. And fasten off. So we just need to weave these ends in, and our tail is all complete. And we're going to work on the fin next. To start the fin, we're going to start with a chain of 7, and we're going to second chain from hook with a half double crochet. 1 half double crochet in each chain all the way across. So we're going to have 6 half double crochets. Chain 1 for row 2. We're going to turn the work and 1 half double crochet in each stitch. When we get to the last stitch, we're going to change colors. We're going to change to the black. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that last one is 6. Kind of a little bit on the side. You don't want to miss that one. And before we finish that half double crochet, we're going to change over to our black. I like to put a little knot in these. You don't have to do that. I just like to do that. I'm going to go ahead and snip off the orange. So we're going to chain 1, turn the work. We're going to go ahead and work over those tails. I'm going to place 1 single crochet into each one of these stitches. Why is that a little bit loose? There we go. That chain was a little bit loose. So let's do 1 single crochet into each stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we get to that 6th stitch, we're going to go ahead and put 3 single crochets in it. So that last stitch, that's 1, 2, and 3, and 1 stitch in the end of the row, right there. Now working along the bottom of the chain, we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it rounds there. We're going to go ahead and fasten this off. And now we can tuck in these tails, and we're ready to sew this onto our cozy. Okay, I went ahead and sewn on the fin right between, in the center between the 2 stripes. So there we have our clownfish. So now we just have to work on the unicorn, and that'll be coming up next. Okay, take your unicorn's cozy and make sure you flatten it out and have it on the top edge. Now see, if you have your seam there, you might want to like roll the seam over to the back, so that way it doesn't show on the front of your unicorn. Now look at the top edge, and you want to go in 1 stitch. So here's 1 stitch. You want to go in 1 stitch and attach your yarn with a slip stitch. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet back into that same stitch that you just slip stitched into. Then slip stitch into that stitch, the same stitch that you just slip stitched into, and fasten off. And there is your first ear. And you're going to do the same thing for the second ear. So go ahead and get another slip knot on your hook. Once you got your slip knot on your hook, you're going to count in 1, and then go into the next stitch. Make sure you grab all your right ends here, because with all these little loose ends you might grab the wrong end. So make sure you get your working yarn. Slip stitch, chain 3, double crochet, and slip stitch. Then go ahead and fasten off. And you have your 2 little ears, just like that. Now you're going to go ahead and weave all these ends in, and then we do the horn, and then you just have to embroider some eyedots on. Okay, to make the unicorn horn, we're going to work it in a magic ring. And again, I've not worked this using a chain 2 with the first round going into the second chain from hook. I've only done this with a magic ring. So we're going to hold our yarn over the first 2 fingers, wrap it around over the, put our hook under the bottom yarn, turn, grab that top yarn, pull it through, twist, grab our working yarn, and chain stitch. We're going to put 6 single crochets into the center of the magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Pull our ring closed. Whoops, we're not going to pull it like that. Kind of defeats the purpose. So let's pull it tight. We are not going to slip stitch, so we're only going to be doing single crochet in the continuous round. So for round 2, just 1 stitch in each stitch around. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to do that again. One, 2, 3, 4. Hold on a minute, I gotta pull out some more of the yarn. 5 and 6. And one more time for round 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Slip stitch into that next stitch to fasten off. You can flatten that out. And what we're going to do is take our yarn needle work around the top here to close it. And give us that nice little point. our unicorn horn. Now all we need to do is just sew this on. And we'll be all done. I have to just kind of shape it a little bit. Now for the mane, you can make your strands as long or as short as you like. I did 8 strands. Let's see here. My strands are about 12 inches long, but you can make them as long or as short as you want. You can always trim them too. So you fold them in half, and how I did it is I also folded my unicorn in half so that the horn was in the center, so that my mane would be directly behind the horn. And how I did this is that I popped my hook through a stitch, grabbed the yarn, pulled it through like this, wrapped it around the hook, pulled it through, and just pulled it tight, just like that. And grab up another 2 strands, went down to the next row. So I tried to keep it in a straight line as best I could. Went down about another row or so. And did the same thing again. Pulled it through, wrap it around, and pulled all the strands through. Now, of course, I trimmed them off too once I got them all on there. So I didn't leave them. You could leave them this long if you want. That's really up to you. So that is how you do the mane. You can also do more than the 8 strands. You can put more on there. You can put less on there. It's really up to you how many you want to put on. So now we just have to, we have one more to put on there, but then we just have to do the eyes. So here's the finished unicorn with her sleepy little eyes. I trimmed her mane down, and we have all 4 of our cozies right here all finished. So if you've liked this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and don't forget to ring that bell. Thanks for watching and happy crocheting. Bye-bye.